Hi, I'm Burney.
And I'm Ava Burns.
And this is Fresh Off the Burner, a series where Ava and I talk about relevant things happening at or around Belmont's campus.
Today we are joined by a special guest.
Hi, I'm Alex.
We're so glad to be able to talk with all of us here today about the 9 to 5 musical that happened on Belmont's campus at the Fisher Center, which was very fancy and official.
Yes, it was so cool. I haven't seen one of the MT productions in the Fisher Center yet. I've only seen MPAC and Trout. So this was a really cool experience to get to see them on the big stage. 9 to 5 is a musical set in the 60s. It is about 3 working women, and they all have very distinct personalities and how they all work together in an office setting and kind of the drama that unfolds from there. It is a comedy, so you got lots of laughs, but basically the thing that binds them all together is their hate for their egotistical, narcissistic, bigoted boss. But one of the reasons why people love it so much is because of Miss Dolly Parton. She originated one of the roles.
You can really tell that the role was started by Dolly Parton. Not only is obviously it named 9 to 5 and one of her most famous songs is 9 to 5, but you can tell because of the outfit and the hair and the jokes about the hair being fake. And then obviously the Dolly Parton character sings one of my favorite songs, Backwoods Barbie. And so that was incredible to hear by our incredible girl who played Dolly Parton's character, who's named Dorley, which I believe her name was...
It was Harley Galloway.
Yes, Harley did such an incredible job, in my opinion, of being able to have an accent and talk in a country way that wasn't offensive to people who maybe actually have a country accent, as well as sing in a country accent, which I think is way harder.
Yeah, I thought she did a really good job impersonating Dolly, especially since the Dolly musical was here at Belmont earlier in the year and we saw different ages of Dolly portrayed in that musical. I thought she really did a good job almost continuing that sequence and filling in in a similar way with those actresses who were leaving Belmont to go star on Broadway.
Yeah. What would you say were some of the major differences between a production like that and the one that we saw?
Well, and let's go ahead and get into the set of it all, because I think that's the main difference that I really noticed. Was this was one of the most impressive sets I've ever seen on a Belmont musical. I think they always do an incredible job, but because it's in the Fisher Center, I think they probably upped the budget and upped the antics, and it looked so professional and so incredible. But there's no comparing to a Dolly set. This set maybe had, even though it was beautiful, had a little bit less of a budget behind it. You know what I'm saying?
It was very interesting the way that they did not really have a unit set at all. Mm-hmm. They had the borders that outlined the whole stage in the first, second, and third wings, and then a video screen in the back. But other than that, everything came in and out, on and off. It looked to be all moved either by the freshman MT students or by ensemble members in the show, and they were all dressed in the actual outfits to match the characters.
Yeah, for sure. I think another thing too with those visual changes was the lighting of it. I know that we talked about it a little bit, but those lighting cues were done so well. I thought the color of it, especially when you changed from Hart's office into Violet being the boss, I thought everything just came to life more, obviously, when Violet was the boss. And Judy's song, Get Out and Stay Out, it's the second to last song of the entire show. It's my favorite song of the whole show. I love that song so much. But there is a section where it's literally just her on stage. There's slight blue lights on the stage, and then they have gobos that immediately go to a spotlight on her. It looked unreal. It looked so beautiful. I think that's my favorite lighting moment of the whole show.
And it's something that's not complicated. It's very simple, but it's because it's simple that it works so well. It's such a big moment vocally that having just a simple look on stage with that blue wash you were talking about, and then that bump towards center was just perfect.
To give some context, whenever this evil Mr. Hart that all 3 of the women hate is in power and is the acting CEO, everybody wears really drab colors and very loose articles of clothing, and nobody really feels like they care very much. People aren't talking to each other, and even the desks are gray. And then to have whenever Violet, who's one of the women who hates her boss, takes over and becomes the CEO. They have bright colors and fun outfits, and everybody the entire time is like laughing and giggling, and the desks are colorful, and the lighting, like you said, was so much better. And I think it really showed in a very easy way how they were able to completely change the mood of a very low-key, like you were saying, Alex, very low-key set.
I also think, I don't know if you noticed this, but like with Violet, her costuming itself changed. Like she was in skirts and blouses and things at the very beginning, and then by the end she was in a pantsuit. Like kind of like that shift of her in terms of like maybe like more traditional to like more modern like business women clothes.
That is also something that I wanted to discuss, was some of the choices that are made in the musical and what you guys thought about them in a more modern time. For me, whenever we were watching it, there was so many things that I would notice that maybe the older crowd would giggle at that I really couldn't figure out why it was funny. But whenever, for example, Dorley, which is Dolly Parton's character, first comes on stage, she basically tells Judy, who is our main character that we follow, that she was like, oh, if you need anything, let me know, and then walks off stage. And then Violet goes, yeah, we don't like her. And it took me a second to figure out why, because I was like, why do we hate Dorley? Like, she just came up and said, if you need anything, let me know. But in the end, what it is because she's pretty. That's the reason why they don't like her. And everybody giggles because it's a comedy and it's funny and it's not meant to be very serious. But that was something to me where I was like, I think this is made for a different generation. And also the Violet's song being called One of the Boys. Violet, whenever she is finally in charge, is singing with a bunch of boys in a song titled One of the Boys because she is one of the boys. That also felt weird to me in the pantsuit of it all. It almost felt like you have to be masculine to be in power. You have to be somebody who can take on a traditionally male handled role in a traditional male way, like in wearing a pantsuit. And I know that obviously that is meant to be super empowering. Like the song is meant to be empowering, the pantsuit's meant to be empowering, but it's just not something that I immediately think of being from a different generation where I never had to wear skirts. You know, for people who always had to wear skirts, changing to a pantsuit, super empowering. To me, it's like, well, why do you have to change out of a skirt to feel like you have power? And I didn't know if you guys felt that either, but that was kind of my main, like, kind of takeaway, honestly, was that it just, some of the jokes I feel like didn't land on me as much as they should have.
I think it was honestly, like, I caught myself at some points just having more, like, uncomfortable laughter than anything, just because, like you were saying, like, there was a lot of those jokes that just, like, were very clearly from another generation. And obviously, this is set in the 60s. Like, that's not supposed to be for... Like, it's not supposed to be set in the 2020s. But I think if there was a way, like, people do this all the time where they can take the joke, but they either, like, rewrite it a little bit so that it adheres more to the audience, or they change the inflection of it a little bit so that it's more, again, it resonates more with the audience. I completely agree with you that the song One of the Boys, it didn't land with me personally. I thought they did a phenomenal job for what it was. It was just like... she couldn't have any femininity. Like, that's why she started wearing the pantsuit. That's why she started throwing the football across stage. Like, and you could tell that it was foreign territory for her, when in reality, like, she becomes her best self when she's with these two other women and when she's leading these office women as well. So why wouldn't we try to show that instead of just having her parading around with a bunch of guys throwing a football and, like, having them carry her? It just felt a little odd to me.
It goes back to that's a very women-centered show. And all of them coming together are able to show how important female friendship is and how critical that was for them to be able to connect with others, to be able to get over the things that had been troubling them so much by sharing that in a friendship way. And I just wish we leaned maybe more into that with some of the jokes and some of the songs, because clearly there's the start of it there. The whole plot is really, I would say, timeless. But a very pretty girl walking in and saying, if you need anything, let me know, I'm here to help, doesn't immediately scream, we hate her to me. I would also like to talk about Roz.
Yes. Oh my God.
Incredible character. Also, I felt like we almost were putting women down in that one too, though, in the way that she's a character who is the right-hand man to the CEO, Mr. Hart, and she does everything that he says. Well, it's clear that she is enamored by him and enamored by power, and in the end really just wants to feel valued. And this is taken as, because she wants to be valued by a man, as negative, when Violet wants to be valued by a man as well. And the way that she's kind of continuously, even at the end there, hit on, because they're like, oh, and you have to stay here and serve Violet. And Violet's like, give me a coffee and whatever. It's like, why are we continuing that to a woman who didn't do anything wrong besides also wanting to feel close to power the same way all the rest of the women did?
And I know that they tried to portray her as, like, in my head, it was like the Jafar and Iago. Like, it's like the big bad and then the sidekick to the big bad. But I felt like Roz was just like any other woman working there. Like, you could have changed Roz with Missy or Roz with Maria, and while they had very different personalities, like, I think it was just the nature of her job that got her so close to the boss. And then obviously her love sprung from there. But I don't know, it also rubbed me the wrong way that Violet had talked about wanting to foster more of a community of encouragement and love within the office, and they had already been doing that. And then as soon as Roz came back, it was like she completely turned a switch. Also, I don't know if it was just me. I love that they threw this in there, but I was slightly confused why Roz ended up with the CEO's wife.
And it happened so fast. Like, you almost missed it if you weren't paying such close attention.
It just doesn't make sense in my brain, because I was like, if she doesn't have Mr. Hart, why would she go for Mrs. Hart? Because that, like, they were polar opposite personalities. Like, that's why their marriage didn't work out. And I'm like, I get it, but I don't. Quite literally, if Roz had just gotten with an ensemble member who was a woman, it would have been fine. Just, I don't see it that she would get together with Mr. Hart's wife.
It also feels weird, since she was in love with Mr. Hart, that, like, that all ended up, like, working out with, like, you wanted to have an affair with him while they were married, and so.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All of this to say, though, I did love the songs that were included in it. Looking at them maybe more of a musically way, it was beautiful to be able to hear all those powerful voices up on that Fisher Center stage, and the great orchestra that they had. Every single song, I was like, you're telling me I'm not on Broadway right now? Like, they were incredible.
The song that I previously mentioned, Get Out and Stay Out, can you tell it's my favorite? That I literally, at intermission, I turned to Maya and I was like, I'm so excited to see what she does with it, because in the first act, Judy is far more like in her head voice. She's very soft when she sings, which really perpetuates her character being like the shy, timid. But as soon as she has her confrontation with Dick, her ex-husband at that time, that's when she fully was just able to belt her heart out, and it sounded amazing. She had a great range, not just in that song, but in all of the songs that she sung, while she was able to maintain such control as well of when she knew when to do those big belty moments versus when she knew when to be more emotional, or even when to not sing and just like say the line how she would. It felt like I was just watching a conversation, or even just like watching a monologue and not watching somebody sing, if that makes sense.
And she really filled that empty stage. Like, that stage was empty. There was nothing on it but her. But never once did I think that I left the moment, or that I stopped believing that we were actually like in the show. Like, the whole time, like, she kept the believability that we were like in her house in the night and everything.
It was such a good musical. I cannot overstate how many times I thought that was a professional production, especially to see all of the people not only have obviously incredible singing abilities, but also to really make you hate or love their character. Very impressive the way that everyone on that stage was able to act their hearts out to make you really believe them in a way that's not overly, I would say, overly college production.
Yeah, and one last thing to highlight, which I don't think many people know, but I'm 99% sure that one of the people in the orchestra pit was actually a student at Belmont. And I know for sure that this student played during the musical and everything that was going on last weekend in two to three different sets of Best and the Best. So he was learning music for 9 to 5 and learning music for R&B hip hop showcase all at the same time. And I'm pretty sure is going to be playing in Best of the Best with the same group. And so what a busy schedule to be having all that music memorized, to be rehearsed. Plus, I'm sure he has his own classes at Belmont and is going to be preparing for that. And so, like, what a cool way to see all the different, like, departments and groups of students kind of come together to see this, like, thing happen.
I completely agree. I'm a graduating senior, so this is my last musical that I'm really going to get to see on that big stage, and it felt so perfect. And, like, every single loose end was tied up with a nice bow because it was just, in every sense of the word, perfect. Well, thank you so much for joining us on Fresh Off the Burner. Next time, you will hear us talk about monster calls, and until then, I've been Maya Burney.
I've been Ava Burns.
And I'm Alex Zock.
Bye!